let's see, it's 10:02. I think we should go ahead and get started. We've got 29 participants right now, so that's a good number. All right, welcome to AAUW Redlands Branch. This is our March meeting, branch meeting. Welcome to everybody. We'll get started now. And so let's start with the thought for the month from Patricia Stubbs.
Oh, how wonderful. You're going to start with me right off. Excellent. You know, in 1881, a small group of female college students banded together to open doors for women's career advancement and to encourage more women to pursue higher education. The myth at the time was that women risked infertility if they educated themselves. By 1885, there were papers out by AAUW addressing that false myth. The battle for women's advancement and equity had begun. Then and now, gender stereotypes, a male-dominated culture, few role models, continue to hold women back. The myth now is that men are naturally better at math and science than women. Girls and women are systematically tracked away from science and math through their education, limiting their training and options to go into STEM fields. Women make up 28% of the workforce in science, technology, engineering, and math. In 2021, there are still startling inequalities in American education. As women, we are still challenged by what we believe about ourselves, our abilities, and possibilities. Engineering and computer science, two of the most lucrative STEM fields, remain heavily male-dominated. 21% of the engineering majors and 19% of the computer science majors are women. AAUW wants women to hold an equitable percentage in these fields, something closer to our actual population numbers, and bring us closer to pay equity. The Redlands branch of the AAUW has provided a STEM conference at the U of R for the 8th grade girls of Redlands and Yucaipa for going on our 27th year, having reached almost 17,000 young women. We have also provided a STEM conference for the Pass area, serving Banning and Beaumont at Mount San Jacinto College, going on 21 years and having reached nearly 7,000 young women. The STEM conference on steroids is Tech Trek. For 20 years, we have sent girls at the end of 7th grade to a week-long camp on a university campus. The girls live in dorms, eat in the cafeteria, work in university labs, and bond with girls with similar interests. They are inspired by mentors in the STEM disciplines. This year, the camp will be virtual, less costly as a result, and more girls than usual will be scheduled. AAUW has championed Tech Trek and STEM conferences as a way to reach out to young women at a pivotal time in their lives to help affect the ideas and beliefs about what they can do with their futures. We are cheerleading the need for math and science education at both events. Both events are opportunities for young women to expand, a young woman to expand her ideas, interact with several positive role models who demonstrate a STEM career with the message, you can do this. This age young woman and humans in general limit ourselves based on our beliefs. The fact that we can do what we believe we can do is huge, is everything. The ideas and beliefs are everything. A 2001 study showed that girls who took calculus in high school were more than 3 times as likely as girls who did not take calculus to major in a STEM field in college. Taking higher level science and math in high school keeps STEM options open and needs a lot of push. A young woman on the verge of high school needs goals, big ideas, belief in herself, and her own enthusiasm about her life. She needs good reasons to push herself. COVID-19 has not stopped AAUW from reaching out to the young women of today. Tech Trek will reach more young women virtually than before. The STEM conference in Redlands is Zoom classes with the Redlands School District. It's going to be a hit. We all know that. We will also have an AAUW YouTube channel showing videos made by our speakers offered to students in Yucaipa, Banning, Beaumont. We expect the audience will be even larger this year. Big thanks to Deepika Srivastava for her work through the Redlands School District and Catherine Brown for her vision and work for the STEM conference, plus all those who assisted in making the 2021 conference a reality in a pandemic. We continue to believe that women can and will, with the right push and information, stretch their perceived boundaries, societal or self-imposed, and achieve in numbers equal to our actual numbers in the population. Thank you.
Thank you, Patricia. That was great. Okay, now let's move on. Deb Sibley is going to introduce our speaker for us today. Deb?
Good morning, everyone. I had so hoped I would be able to do this in person, but I'm still pleased to introduce Kathy Harper as our speaker this morning. Kathy received her law degree from Southwestern School of Law in 1980. And for the next 25 years, she served as Deputy District Attorney for Orange County, California. She retired in 2005 and moved to Big Bear with the plans to relax, but instead started working again as the CEO of a domestic violence agency. That job continued for 10 years. It was in Big Bear that Kathy became aware of and first joined AAUW. During the years that she lived there, she served as various positions for that branch: president, legal advocacy vice president, and public policy chair. Kathy was returned back to Orange County in 2015 and there joined the Carlsbad Oceanside Vista branch of AAUW. She also served that branch as president and public policy chair. Kathy was elected to her current position of co-chair of public policy for AAUW California in 2019, I believe, Kathy, correct me if I'm wrong, and she still holds that position. So please welcome Kathy Harper to speak to us today. She will update us on AAUW's public policy and legal advocacy activities. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you, Deb, for the nice introduction. And thank you again for giving me this opportunity to come and talk to you all about these important topics. And I want to just say that was a wonderful introduction from Patricia as well, and an overview of our push to encourage young women to get into the STEM field. And I really, on behalf of the state, I want to applaud the Redlands branch for your STEM conference. It sounds like you're really making a difference in terms of moving young women into those fields. So yay, good for you. All right, I am going to put up my screen share here so you can see my PowerPoint. Okay. Bear with me for just a second. I've got a screen up here on the top that won't let me get to my, I'm trying to get rid of that so I can get to my start slideshow. It won't go away. Hold on. I am so sorry. I've never had this happen before. I don't know how to get rid of this panel up here. Nope, not that one. Anybody have any ideas on?
Kathy, we see on our screens your slide presentation.
Yeah, here's my problem. I've got a panel that's going across the top of my screen and it's hiding the button for start slideshow, and I can't get to that button to start the slideshow.
Well, just go ahead and click on each slide.
All right, that's what I'll have to do. We'll just improvise here. All right, So I'm going to be talking with you about what's going on in legal advocacy. We're going to talk about the cases that AUW is currently supporting. And then I'm going to bring you some updates on what's happening at both the national level and the AUW California state level with public policy. Lots and lots going on right now. We're right in the middle of our big legislation session. And so we have lots to share. So I'll talk about legal advocacy first. And there are currently 4 cases that AUW is supporting. That means we're giving financial assistance to the plaintiffs in these cases. We just took on 2 new cases in August of last year, but we also have 2 cases that we have been following for quite some time. One was filed in 2017 and one was goes back to 2016. And they've been winding their way through the legal processes, and AUW has stuck with the plaintiffs throughout. So let's talk about take a look at the 2 current cases first. And the first one is Page versus USAID. That's the U.S. Agency for International Development. And this case involves the Equal Pay Act. The suit is alleges a violation of the Equal Pay Act. So just a little bit of background. This involves 3 women who worked for the USAID for more than 27 years in various overseas posts. In 2016, each of these women discovered that despite their greater seniority and higher rank as senior foreign service officers, they were paid considerably less than dozens of lower ranking and less experienced male officers. Big surprise, right? We've heard this tune too many times now. In 2017, as a result of their discovery, they filed a formal complaint alleging unequal pay in violation of the Equal Pay Act and Title VII of the Civil Rights Act. In May of 2020, they filed an EEO complaint, the Equal Employment Opportunities Agency, and that complaint was denied. They then appealed to the appellate body. So this is a separate, it's not within the court, the regular court system. The EEO has its own appellate process, and that appellate body is called the Office of Federal Operations. And they filed an appeal in August of 2020 with the Office of Federal Operations. Current status of that appeal is currently pending. I'm going to take just a second to review with you some important aspects of the Equal Pay Act, because we're going to be talking about this in some of the other cases as well. So just want to make sure you have that little bit of background information. The Equal Pay Act was passed in 1963 as an amendment to the Fair Labor Standards Act of 1938. In its final form, the Equal Pay Act mandates that employers cannot award unequal wages or benefits to men and women working jobs that require, quote, equal skill, effort, and responsibility, and which are performed under similar working conditions. So that's the first important part of the Equal Pay Act, what it mandates. And then it also establishes guidelines for making that determination, whether or not that's been violated or not. So the guidelines include when unequal pay is permitted, it is only specifically on the basis of merit, seniority, workers' quality or quantity of production, and other factors not determined by gender. And this is probably the most significant phrase of the entire Equal Pay Act, because we frequently say, why are we still having these issues of unequal pay come up? We have the Equal Pay Act and it forbids that. And what's happened is that for the last 40, 50 years since this act was enacted, the employers use this last clause, other factors not determined by gender, and that's how they get around it. It's a big loophole in the law, and they claim the employers who do engage in unequal pay practices always rely on this term, on this final clause, to say, oh, well, it's not determined. It's the reason we're doing it is a factor other than gender. It's not being determined by gender. That's how they get around it. So that's what's at stake in the Page case. The second case, new case that we have that we just took on in August of 2020 is Glaston versus Google. And this involves a young woman named Chelsea Glaston. And the act at stake here is she's alleging pregnancy discrimination. And in 2018, she began noticing that her boss was making these frequent comments about other women in her section who were pregnant. And he would drop comments like, looks like she's pregnant again. And that the employee was, quote, overly emotional when pregnant. And that, quote, she should just leave Google to go work for a lower tier company, supposedly one that accepts pregnant women. When Chelsea found out about this or began noticing this, she spoke up against it. She went to her boss. She went to HR. She spoke up against the blatant pregnancy discrimination that she was witnessing. And of course, what happened next is that this led to a retaliation campaign against her by her manager. Even though she had significant seniority, had nothing but praise for her job performance, good job reports, performance reports. All of a sudden, she was being given lesser assignments, being given poor performance reviews. As while this was going on, Chelsea herself became pregnant. And when that became known, her manager then engaged in targeted discrimination, harassment, and retaliation against her. She then filed a lawsuit in the Superior Court of Washington State, claiming Google violated Washington's law against discrimination, which specifically prohibits pregnancy discrimination. So we've taken that case on, and that is pending as well. And then let's take a look at our two older cases that we've been supporting for quite a while. This one began in, I think back in 2017, I think this case, and we adopted it in September of 2019. And this involves the Equal Pay Act that I just read you a couple excerpts from, as well as Title VII of the Civil Rights Act, which forbids discrimination on the basis of sex, as well as Title IX, because it involves discrimination on a college campus. So this involves Jennifer Freyd, who is a psychology professor at the University of Oregon. She'd been there for more than 30 years. She was the most senior staff member in that department based on years in her rank. However, her salary, she learned, was substantially less than that of several of her less senior male colleagues. When she filed a complaint, the university conducted a study or ordered a study to be conducted. And the results of that show that the annual average difference between male and female full professors in the psychology department was about $25,000. So it was pretty significant, especially over a lifetime. But the study, after making that finding, it basically said that it was no big deal because the disparity was largely the result of retention raises awarded to faculty who pursued outside offers. So what this means is that professors would be given offers from other campuses or other entities to lure them away from the Oregon faculty, and Oregon would then, the university would then offer them higher pay in order to keep them from leaving and taking the more lucrative offers. What happened, however, was that those offers were predominantly made to male faculty. Because of inherent gender discrimination, female faculty members were not getting those offers to the same extent that the men were. And that's important because that's the basis of Jennifer's case. So she filed a lawsuit in the US District Court for the District of Oregon. She argued just what I said, that the retention raises obtained by men who seek outside offers, number one, does not qualify as one of those factors other than sex, because she said it is predominantly a sex-related factor because such raises amplify existing gender bias in the availability of outside offers. Again, they're made to male faculty members and not to female. The trial court held that the need to retain professors with outside offers is a sufficient defense to sex discrimination and ruled against her. So Jennifer then appealed to the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeal, and that appeal is still pending in the Ninth Circuit. And then our last case is Jane Doe versus the University of Kentucky. This is a Title IX sexual assault case. This case becomes really significant in the context of the changes that Betsy DeVos, as Secretary of Education over the last 4 years, made to Title IX requirements within the Department of Education. And this case highlights why it's so important for those measures to be reversed. So again, a little bit of background. This is kind of a complicated case. I'm going to simplify it, but the reason, number one, why the plaintiff is called Jane Doe is because it's a sexual assault case. And so the law requires sexual assault victims to have their identities protected. So she's allowed to file under the pseudonym of Jane Doe. So this goes way back to 2014, and she was enrolled in a dual program. So she was actually enrolled at a community college in Kentucky, but she was allowed to take classes at the University of Kentucky. And she actually lived on the University of Kentucky campus. So while she was a student, she was sexually assaulted by another student in her University of Kentucky dorm room. She immediately notified the university about the assault the very next day. In a week later, the university hearing panel they held a hearing as required by the law in 2014, which was different post 2017. But then it required a hearing within 30 days. And they held the hearing, and they found that the accused student did perpetuate the assault. He was in violation of university policy concerning sexual assault, stalking, and relationship violence. However, that wasn't the end of it. Over the next several years, the student, the accused, was able to get 3 additional hearings. And so this case just dragged on and on and on, and they kept allowing him to have these hearings. And in every single one of those 3 hearings, they continued to rule in favor of Jane Doe, the victim. However, they allowed him to keep having hearings. They had a 4th hearing in January of 2017. And at that hearing, the accused was finally deemed not responsible. Jane Doe appealed that decision to the University Appeals Board, and that her appeal was denied. Later that year, she filed a case in the U.S. District Court. This time, the suit was actually against the university. It was not against the student for the sexual assault. She filed her case against the university, claiming that the university was deliberately indifferent to her allegations, which was a violation under Title IX by allowing the accused student to have these 4 hearings. So there was no basis, in fact, for that. It was designed simply to harass her and to keep her from having the result that she got the first time enacted. And so that was the basis of her appeal. The case, not her appeal, but her lawsuit in the district court. The district court ruled against her on a procedural basis. It said that because she was actually a student at the community college, and that's why I included that in the background. It was important to the procedural aspect of the case. It said that she had no standing to sue the University of Kentucky because technically she was a student at the community college, even though she was dually enrolled. So they didn't even have a hearing on the merits of her Title IX allegations. They just dismissed the case on the standing issue. So Jane Doe appealed that ruling to the Sixth Circuit Court of Appeals in 2019, and AAUW became involved on the appeal. And in that year, the Sixth Circuit Court of Appeal reversed the case, reversed the lower court's ruling, and said that she did in fact have standing because she was enrolled on both campuses. And they remanded it. That means they sent it back to the district court for a full hearing. So that's the current status of that case, and we continue to support this plaintiff. So it's now pending in the district court for a full hearing on the merits of the case. Okay. So those are our four currently supported cases from our legal advocacy fund. I don't know, Sue, if you want to do questions at each phase as I go through, or you want to wait and hold questions to the end. Either way is fine with me.
Let's just wait till the end. Go ahead with your presentation and then.
All right, so let's talk about public policy, and we'll start with news from national. Lots going on with our new administration, our new Congress, our new majorities, the new majorities in both the House and the Senate. Lots of hope that we're going to see some changes in specifically in terms of issues that matter to AAUW and our mission. So we had a meeting every month. All of the public policy chairs meet with the Director of Public Policy for National, Kate Nielsen. And we have a Zoom meeting, and we just had our meeting about 2 weeks ago, and she brought us up to date on everything that's going on at their level. So I'm going to talk about what AAUW is doing in terms of our asks of the administration and the Congress, and then I'll talk about what they're not responses, but what's going on with them that relate to us. So as far as AAUW vis-a-vis the administration, the Biden-Harris administration, Kate has sent letters to President Joe Biden outlining AAUW's priorities, things that we would like to see the administration working on. And the first is issues pertaining to women's economic security. And the second is education access. And I mentioned earlier the importance of overturning some of the policies that were enacted by Secretary DeVos. And that's what is involved in the second aspect of education access, is a request for the Department of Education to reassess those policies. So in terms of what the administration itself is actually doing, that in terms of actions that are AAUW, that are related to AAUW policies, the president enacted 41 executive orders in his first 2 weeks. And among those included COVID relief, which includes student debt relief and the opening of schools. He announced an anti-discrimination focus, which a lot of his executive orders centered around. And these include removing barriers for marginalized populations, DACA relief, and a task force to reunite families that have been torn apart at the border. And then finally, protecting women's health at home and abroad, including access to abortions. In addition to the letter to the president, to the administration, AAUW submitted a letter to the 117th Congress. And our two focus areas in that letter revolved around passing the Paycheck Fairness Act, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in a minute, and passing the Equity and Education Act. And in terms of what we are anticipating from the 117th Congress, or what's going on right now, as we all know, it's in the news every day, the COVID relief package has been passed by the House. It's a $1.9 trillion package. As it relates to us, it includes paid sick and family leave through September, leave of up to 14 weeks. The increase in the minimum wage to $15, it looks like that's out now that it's gone to the Senate. They agreed yesterday morning to take that request out of the package. So that's going to be handled in a separate way. We're not sure exactly what that's going to look like, but we're going to keep our eye on that. It includes assistance to those most at risk of losing their jobs and or their homes. $3 billion to help women with food relief for families. We know that COVID has disproportionately affected women, workers, those who are single, who are having to leave their jobs in order primarily to stay home for childcare. And we're going to talk a lot about childcare in a minute. Those in a dual income producing family unit, more often than not, the husbands are keeping their jobs, and again, the women are losing their jobs or having to leave their jobs. So this relief will be extremely helpful to women in those situations. And then $25 billion in emergency fund for childcare providers. And we'll look at that as it relates to California. So that's all in the COVID relief package. There are a couple of other things that are going on. The Raise the Wage Act, again, this is raising the federal minimum wage to $15 by 2025. That's been taken out of COVID relief, so it's going to be handled in a different way. One of the ways it's being proposed is this separate act of Raise the Wage. The Family Act, which has an emphasis on access to paid family leave. And then the Paycheck Fairness Act, which is HR 7, House Resolution 7. And the reason that that's important is that because it has such a low number, the bills are given numbers by Speaker Pelosi in terms of their importance and priority. So anything under the number 10 indicates that it has very high priority with the House. So that's good for us. So let's talk for a minute about the Paycheck Fairness Act. That really is front and center of on AAUW's priority list right now. We've been working on this since 1997 when it was first introduced. It has been introduced periodically over the years ever since 1997. It was reintroduced and always defeated. It was reintroduced again on February 1st of this year. AAUW National feels that this currently has strong bipartisan support and that this is the time to get this act passed. So the main components of the Paycheck Fairness Act, it prohibits retaliation for discussing pay. It closes the loophole in the Equal Pay Act. So that's because we were going to talk about this here. That's why I wanted you to have a full understanding of the Equal Pay Act provisions. And it's that loophole, that last clause of that the employer can allege anything doesn't involve gender discrimination. And so that's one of the things that this is designed to close that loophole. And it also holds that you can't use prior salary history in hiring decisions. Of course, we already have that here in California, yay for us, but a lot of states do not. And so it's very, very important that we get this passed at the federal level so that all states can have the benefit of that really, really good decision. And so members can help. If you go online to AAUW National's site under Public Policy, the Policy Center, you can find a toolkit, or you can just find it at this site if you want to make note of that. And the toolkit has a good explanation of opportunities for members and branches to get involved and how you can help. So doing such things as writing letters to the editor, and there are full templates in there. How to use the 2-minute activist. I'm sure everybody in your branch is already very savvy about that and signed up, but make sure that all your members are signed up if they're not. And you'll be getting notices from National periodically at important points in the process as it goes through about who to contact and when, and what to say and so forth. So I encourage you to take a look at that toolkit. This is, again, a really, really #1 priority with AAUW National is getting this act passed. Okay, then we'll move on to the state and tell you a little bit about what's going on here in California. Again, very, very busy right now with our committee. We have decided this year that our focus is going to be on childcare. And so we started off the year looking for a childcare bill that we could get involved with and co-sponsor. And we have found that in AB 92. And this establishes a sliding scale for family portion of subsidized care. So there are many low-income families who are entitled to subsidized care, child care, but they still have to pay what's called family fees. And for some families, it's just their portion is still exorbitant for them in terms of their ability to pay. What we know is that 20% that childcare comprises 20% of income for most families in California. It is California is the most expensive state for childcare. There are currently 2 million children on the waiting list for subsidized care. And again, even when a family can get off that waiting list and get subsidized care, they still have to pay. So AB 92 establishes a sliding scale that makes it more equitable. And even since we took this case on, just within the last 2 days, there's been a new I'm trying to say, something new has happened with regarding this, and that's that we're now looking toward the budget, and we're asking for an allocation from the budget that will actually pay for the family fees portion of subsidized care. Child care is also, it's not just a high priority for AAUW California, it's a high priority for the governor and the legislature as well. In December, the governor released what he called the Master Plan for Early Learning and Child Care. Now, I mentioned a few minutes ago that $25 billion that is in the COVID relief package for child care. Of that, California gets $500 million. And the governor wants to use that to pay for his master plan for early learning and child care. And so some of the provisions of that is that there's be an increase in vouchers. It includes support for the child care workforce, also a huge issue for us right now. Women in our state who are working are having a real struggle because child care centers are closing down because of COVID, and they can't afford to stay in business. And so that makes even fewer opportunities for working women to have as far as child care. And so this bill would include support for the child care workforce to beef that back up. And then also improving access to paid family leave. On January 8th, the governor released his budget plan, and that included $44 million for child care. So as you can see, it's a huge, huge priority for the governor. As at the legislative level, the Legislative Women's Caucus has made this their top budget priority, citing the women's loss of jobs due to COVID because they have to stay home with their children, the cost of recovery efforts for women and the struggle that will create. And then our new assembly leader is Eloise Reyes, and she has declared that childcare will be her highest priority as well. So it looks like we have a pretty good chance of getting our priority bill, AB 92, passed by the legislature. And then just beyond that, just a little bit of background. What happens is we have a full-time advocate. Some of you may be familiar with the name Shannon Crowley-Smith. She's been our advocate for the last about 10 or 12 years. We made a change this year. We have a new advocacy firm. They're called MVM Strategies. They're based in Sacramento. So our contact at MVM, Kathy Van Osten, went through about 1,200 bills that were put out by the legislature this year, looking for bills that she felt were related to our mission. And she identified 160 AAUW mission related bills. And then my co-chair, Sue Miller, and I went through those 160 and narrowed that down to 60 that we will now take to our committee. So there's 12 AAUW members from throughout the state, from different branches, who are on the state public policy committee. And we will be meeting next Saturday on the 13th, and we'll be looking at these 60 bills. And so just to give you an idea of how those are kind of spread out, if you're not, you should be familiar with our public policy priorities, and you would know that we have 3 pillars that include economic security, quality and accessible, affordable education, and then social justice. Those are our three pillars. And we use our public policy priorities as a guide when we make these decisions about what legislation are we going to be paying attention to. So we have, of those 60 bills, 18 of them are related to economic security, which includes childcare. 19 of them are related to education, which include Title IX, and a lot of bills around foster youth, helping foster youth in terms of pursuing education. And then 23 of the bills are from our social justice pillar. Those include a variety of things like reproductive rights, sex trafficking, public health, homelessness, and racial justice. So there's a little bit of all of those in those 23. So the next steps, our committee meets on next Saturday. We will go through these 60, and then we will decide on our top 30, and that will be our legislative agenda for the year. So once we make that determination, we'll pick 30 bills that we're going to either support or oppose, and then we'll set priority levels on those. And then once that's done, that will be posted on our bill tracker. That will be posted on our website, on our public policy website, and available for all members to take a look at. And the bill tracker then will show the progress as those bills move through the process. And then the other thing we'll do is we'll select our top 3 bills for Advocacy for Lobby Day, which is coming up on March 24th. And we will select one bill from each of our pillars. We've already selected our economic security bill, which is our AB 92, and then we'll be looking for 2 more. So we'll be talking with legislators about those three bills. So those of you from the Redlands branch who have signed up for Lobby Day, thank you very much. And I hope you're as excited as we are. It's going to be a lot of fun and a really, really great opportunity for us to get AAUW's name in front of the legislators, as well as have an opportunity to push for our 3 top priority bills. So we hope to see you then. And that's it.
All right, thanks, Kathy. We appreciate that. We've got a few questions here. One from Erica Wilson. She says, how does AAUW decide on the cases it supports?
First of all, they only take a case once it's gone to the appellate level. So that's the first most important priority. And then the second is, of course, it has to be mission related. So generally our bills tend to revolve around either Title IX violations. Most of our bills are Title IX violations at the college level, and also the Equal Pay Act. So it's those 2, and then the third is needs.
Okay, and Catherine Brown is asking about ERA. What is AAUW's position on a new ERA amendment?
Well, of course, our position is ERA now, ERA yesterday. And so we will continue to support it. It's not on our top priority list just because there are so many economic needs right now facing women, economic challenges facing women because of COVID. And so that's really our primary focus. But of course, we continue to support the passage of the ERA.
Okay. And then I think Catherine, this is from Catherine also, and she has 8,739 and question mark basic income.
I'm not sure what it means.
I don't know what that question, but I have a question. I am a member of CalRTA, which is the California Retired Teachers Association. And one of the biggest things that we are trying to do is to get the repeal of the WEP and the GPO. The GPO impacts retired women a lot. Has AAUW taken a position on the government pension offset and the repeal of the government pension offset?
We haven't taken a position. That came up from several members when we did our it's time to revise our public policy priority brochure. We do that every 2 years. And we sent out the survey last fall asking for member input. And because we have such a large demographic within AAUW of retired teachers. This does come up quite a bit. And what our committee decided was not to take that on as a specific issue, but that it's incorporated within one of our public policy priority points is to secure retirement, is to ensure a secure retirement for women. And so we felt that that was broad enough to encompass this issue. And so certainly if this issue comes up within the legislature, it would be something that we would look at because it is within our public policy priorities. But we didn't identify it as a specific issue.
Okay. The reason I ask is because the GPO in particular does impact women more, it seems to me, as widows of when their husbands, they cannot collect the full Social Security of their husband because of the GPO.
It is an issue. We really haven't seen the legislature take it on. So what we do is sometimes we will look for a particular cause and we will initiate a bill and look for an author for it. We probably wouldn't do it on that issue because it is so narrow. But it's not, what we do is we look to see what the legislature is doing, and then if they come out with a bill that addresses one of our priority issues, then we will support it. So if that were an issue with the legislature, we would really take a strong look at it, but it just hasn't been addressed by the legislature.
Well, it has by Congress. There is a bill up before Congress right now to repeal both the GPO and the WEP, and has a large number of co-signers of a congressman here in California on it. I just don't know where it is as far as the status. I don't think it's out of committee yet as far as that's.
No, I don't know the answer to that because I did not know that bill has not come to my attention. So I'm going to make a note of it, and I will check with I'll make a point of checking with Kate Nielsen to see what's going on with that.
All right.
Do you know what it's called or what number?
Yeah, I have it. I'll send it to you.
Okay, that'd be great.
Is there anybody else that has any questions you want to ask? Monica, do you have a question? Hold on. Let me make you be able to speak. There we go. Okay, go ahead, Monica, ask your question. You have to unmute yourself.
Okay, personally, the offset and elimination is not just for widows. I had a second job simultaneously after my school job from 1985 until I retired in 2012, that I earned Social Security credits in addition to my STRS retirement. Because my STRS retirement, of course, was my primary source of contribution, my entire Social Security, which I started when I was 15 years old working in a bakery, literally, until I retired from education in 2012, was offset by more than 2/3. I get, I think it's $60 a month in Social Security when I'm in, my earned benefit, and I hate it when they say entitlement, my earned benefit is substantially more. They do allow pays for my Medicare, but that's not the issue. The issue is I simultaneously earned the Social Security separate from STRS, and it's offset so much that after paying for Medicare, I get literally nothing.
Yeah.
I feel the pain because as a retired government worker myself, I suffer from this as well. Somebody asked about the acronym. So GPO is Government Pension Offset. So what that means is that if you work for the government, if that was your career and you earned a pension, then your Social Security benefits are reduced. You don't get the same amount that you would if you had worked in a non-governmental position.
Yes, I'm well aware of that.
I was explaining that for some other people. Sorry, Monica.
Okay. There's only 12 states, I believe, in the whole United States that actually adhere to the or disallowing full benefits when you retire for Social Security if you had another primary government contribution. So I can see where AAUW might say, well, there's not enough people. Well, yeah, there's only 12 states, but it's really a lot of women.
Yeah, and the WEP, by the way, I mean, the WEP stands for Windfall Eliminations Provision. And I
Right.
think that's what you're referring to for you, because it's the same for me.
Well, yeah, but it also, my husband passed away, and he was bringing in a substantial amount of money through his Social Security, and that was totally eliminated. So as in my case, it's a double whammy.
Yeah, you're getting affected by both of them. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, Kathy, I'll send you that bill number to let you know what it is. Yeah.
Right. I'll check on it, and whatever I find out, I'll send back to you. So thanks.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else have any question that they want to ask? Deb, go ahead. Unmute yourself. Unmute yourself.
I was just, Catherine had asked the question about SB 739, and I didn't know, we didn't address that. So that was her explanation, SB 739.
I think that is Wiener's bill.
Basic income, she says.
Oh, well, give me a second. I don't have, I have 160 bills in my head, so I don't have all the numbers memorized. Let me check. That's not one that we're looking at, so I'm not familiar with it. Sorry.
Okay. All right. So I think that was it. As far as questions are concerned, that's all I see in here. So Kathy, thank you so much for your presentation. That was great. It gives us a lot of information about what AAUW is supporting now, and also about the cases that we're involved in. So that's great. So thanks a lot for coming and being
Yes,
our
thank
guest
you,
speaker.
Kathy.
Thank you.
Having me.
Thank you.
All right, let's continue. And you don't have, Kathy, you don't have to stay after this.
Yeah.
So let's continue with our business session. And first of all, let me bring up here, I'm going to share my screen with you because we need to celebrate birthdays here. And so let me get you going here. Can everybody see that? No? Okay. Oh, never mind. There we go. I have to click on it. March birthdays this month are Diane Bennett, Bonnie Conowich, Carol Cheney, Debbie Ledoux, Margaret Galligan, Rita Reading, Betsy Grimes, Ellen Schollenberger, Alan Grunbaum, Linda Saros, and Sharon Wilbur. So let's wish them all happy birthday. Okay.
Happy birthday.
All right. All right. Now let's go on to the next portion. Let me see if I can get out of this. There we go. Now we need to, the photo directory. There's a couple of announcements here we need to do. The photo directory is in process. You all received an email requesting you to provide a photograph, a headshot of yourself, and send it to Priya Vidula. We're going to develop a photo directory that will be put on our website. It will be password protected. You will be provided with a password so that you can access it if you need to. And it's really, I think this is going to be very helpful for us because we've grown in size so much, over about 200 members now, that it's kind of hard sometimes to put faces with names. And so this, I think, will help. Priya told me that she had received about 50, I think, so far of headshots from members. So we've got a lot more to go. We put a deadline of March the 15th on it. So if you have not provided a headshot yet of yourself, and you want to have it included in the photo directory, please send it to Priya Vidula. And you can look in your little handbook directory here and see her email address so that you can send it to her. And then we're putting that together right